It's probably more dramatic than I showed. It's probably more that, like that. And then this one down here.
How far west is how far west does it go
does.
in Riverdale?
Yeah, it looks like
Directly
it gets
affect
all
us.
of us. Yeah.
Obviously all the way to the border of the city, west.
And how far east?
I know where
Right about to 900.
900. Okay. Wow.
900, and then it kind of skews at an angle like that.
How far south, Mike?
About midway through right here, just south of America First admin building. It's kind of like right in through here.
And it's all over River Glen too, isn't it?
A big portion. Now, I don't know if it gets all of it, but it kind of cuts it in the middle, I think, to some extent. And then the other one down here,
Not you, but me.
the other one down here does something like this.
Yeah.
The Hill Air Force Base one does something like that. And then if you remember, there's another one that I have to get a code for that goes like this around the base. And then and any land use requests in that area, I have to send to the base planner and get consent before it can move forward. Or
So
at least awareness.
that's almost our whole city between
Yes.
the two.
Yeah. Between the
So now we have outside entities that have to
we all
kind
know
of
where we're.
be okay with certain things and give us consent or approvals. So,
Crazy.
yeah.
Okay. Any comments from the?
Mike, is that going to change anything with the height restrictions of what's being built with Tesla and America
No.
First right now?
No, I don't know that Tesla did it because the code wasn't in place when Tesla got their approval. But I know America First did it. America First
Yeah,
already
they
got
did.
their FAA approval for that admin building. They did have to go through it, and they
Where
did
the
that.
signage and everything that's going to be placed is going
Yeah.
to be within
Actually,
compliance?
now I take it. It was the signage that required them to do it because the state code had been in place when they got their sign.
Yeah.
So ironically, that's what did their application process.
That's what I was wondering
Yeah.
if that would affect that.
It does. And anything going forward, and like I said, Ken Garf's remodel did have to go through it as well because they are within the zone to be impacted, and they got their clearance. I have the letter that shows it being cleared. So, but it can take about 90 to 120 days to get a clearance from FAA.
So this is going to
Wow,
affect
Two.
slow.
this is going to affect anybody that's got trees or bushes 100 feet or taller.
It depends
gonna-
on proximity to the runway. But if they
If it's in the overlay, is 100
there's
feet?
there's kind of like not in the overlay itself. It's more like it's any structure. I think the way the state code, it doesn't talk about trees. This does a little bit, but this is talking more about real close relative to the airport itself. The state code just says, I think any new structure, amended commercial structure, or residential structure, like I said, 50%. I can't remember if that's value or the square footage that's being improved. But basically, if any business were to do a ground up build or an improvement, I'm going to require them to get an FAA clearance if they're in that bubble in either place.
So why does the airport worry about me adjusting my home? So I want to add a room onto it. What does that affect?
Because
them?
not all airports are equal and one size fits all with code. I don't know how else to say it.
I really can't figure out why they would.
Because
be worried.
there is an airport somewhere in Utah that's really flat that's created a problem, and even 5,000 feet away, somebody with the airport or an airplane complained about it. I don't know what to tell you, Wanda. That's the only thing I can think.
Check out the top of their tree.
Something that I was going to say is I think that I'm assuming that America First didn't have any issues obtaining a permit other than just the time.
Yeah.
Because the way that our city is set up and where the Ogden Hinckley Airport is, I can't imagine there would be very many circumstances when what we do or build would affect visibility at the airport. But it is going to significantly impact our turnaround times.
Yeah.
Because if we have to wait
Yes.
90 to 120 days to get FAA approval, then that's going to impact our development, and
So-
that's how it's going to affect us.
So I tell developers immediately now, right when they come in the door, like, that should be your number one priority is figure that out right now. Whatever your plans are, get them drawn and get it going, because that's going to slow you down the most.
Yeah, and for residents, they want to be aware if they're in that overlay zone and if they're planning to do a big remodel, they want to make sure that they're allowing the time for
Yep.
that.
Yep, the contract. And it's up to 90 to 120 days, but you know how the federal government typically operates.
So,
so-
have we notified those residents that it will affect?
That would be awful impossible when you see how many properties there are. Unfortunately, they'll probably find out when they go to get a a building permit. That's when they'll know.
Okay.
So this might be a good thing to share once we have it all passed and codified, to share like on social media channels or even in the newsletter,
Yeah,
just
maybe
to help
to let them know
bring
that,
awareness
yeah.
to our citizens. I mean, I think the
panic.
circumstances are going to be pretty minimal. Like most people don't.
Their existing homes. Yeah.
Right, their existing homes, they're not going to remodel more than 50% of their homes, but it is a good thing to make sure that everyone's aware so that
Just
they
be
can.
careful in the presentation.
Oh, for sure.
Which you're great at. Not to rile.
Yes.
Well, and the city communicating. Yeah, I know what you're saying, though. You're talking about the city communicating it somehow. Probably what we would do is just say that a new code has been passed regarding the airport overlay zone.
In
Cl-
response to this
to learn
bill.
more, click this link and also check state code at this link. That's probably all we would probably need to do.
Yeah.
And that would regulate itself, and then people could learn what they need to learn at that point and get shocked at the same time.
If they look, yeah.
Ironically, you say about America First, but that America First admin building went up, and guess who I got a call from? Ogden City Deputy Community Development Director asking me about the building and
what?
heights, because they can now. So they did.
Okay, the heights. Does that have to do with elevation, or does it have to do with what's on your property, and where does the height begin?
From the runway throat, so where they land and where they rise.
So the elevation of the runway
Oh, top of-
throat.
So it
and
tilts. It's
then
at a certain
up
angle.
From there.
Well, it's a
Topographical.
triangular angle that moves away at a distance, and once it gets far enough away, they'll be at a height that there will be no problems. But like was said,
unless it comes
the
down.
majority of Riverdale properties, if not all properties, are far enough away that height issue probably will never be an issue, except real close to that south runway right there. So
Well, and-
maybe in here, might be under some scrutiny, but everywhere else is just a formality.
Not only that, but the
Frankly.
airport sits higher on higher
I know.
ground than,
Yeah, that's
than
why I
where
said
we are,
elevation.
too.
That's what's
Yeah.
really crazy about like Wanda's house, right? Because she's down here and it's way up there, so it's definitely smashing a fly with a sledgehammer. There's no question.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what's going on here. They could have done the very same thing with 1,000 feet or even 500 feet. So that's why I said what I said initially. It's not our community they're addressing. There's some other community somewhere in the state of Utah where they felt like 5,000 foot protected some airport that had some issue. That's
Yeah.
the only thing I can think.
Topographical, they'll just put a number to it. If it slopes up into a 50-foot high building versus, 200-foot high building,
Yep.
but it's lower down here at the airport,
Yep.
it's going to make a difference on the people. It's going to try to do something on a short building versus somebody that can build a 200-foot high building down closer. It makes no sense. You can
Yeah.
do both,
Yep.
I
mean, I kind of think maybe like St. George Airport or somewhere where maybe there's kind of some weird topography, maybe. But
It's flat. So
Yeah.
St. George is flat, and there's a lot of growth coming around it.
that's kind of what I think it is, maybe. But ironically, the representative that brought the bill forward the first time in the amendment that's been presented today is from Woods Cross, and Woods Cross does have an airport.
They do.
So maybe that's the community that was having issues. And they have a lot of growth around that
They
airport
do.
too.
Fox
similarly.
Glen, Foxborough down there next
Foxborough,
to.
yeah.
I know the church has a problem with that building temples
Yeah.
and airports, because I know in Alaska they couldn't have an Angel Moroni
Certain height,
because it went too
certain
high
profile.
because of and there's airports everywhere there.
Yeah. Certain profiles.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's.
Well, I don't plan on putting a steeple on top of my house.
No, but you,
Well, that's good.
You probably could though, because you're down in a slope away from it anyway. So
yeah. Well, thank you. That we've learned a lot.
Yeah, you're
Appreciate
welcome.
that. Does anybody have any more? All right, then.
I'd like
you,
to.
Yes.
She's got to go to B.
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead and read B.
Now to be consideration to set a public hearing for proposed code addition to Title 10, Chapter 13, Article 1, Airport Overlay Zone and Airport Area Special Regulations Ordinance to be added to the Riverdale City Code as requested by the Community Development Department and required by the state of Utah. Do we have a motion for our public hearing?
I'd like to make a motion that we set a public hearing for the proposed code edition of Title 10, Chapter 13, Article 1, Airport Overlay Zone and Airport Area Special Regulation Ordinance to be added to the Riverdale City Code as requested by the Community Development Department and required by the state of Utah. And that public hearing to be set for February the 13th, which will be our next Planning Commission meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And I just want to note it's Article I, just for the purposes of the record.
Oh,
One.
It's okay, just for the purposes of the record.
You read it like I did.
it is an I.
13th's our next meeting. You said, yeah.
Thank
Wait,
you
I
so
thought it's
much.
the 6th.
No, it's
Oh,
February
it's the 13th.
13th.
It's the second.
13th will be the second.
Sorry, I always get messed
We
up. I
have a motion
apologize.
and a second. Do we need to poll?
On this one, it wouldn't matter. Chair.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes, and that is unanimous. Thank you so very much. Now we come to the interesting part of our meeting.
Oh, man.
Action item 2, commission voting consideration to elect planning commission chair member and vice chair member. If I've got this, if anybody would like to read over it.
Oh, heavens no.
Just for, again, purposes of anybody who may be watching online or want to review the video, you do have bylaws that require every 2 years that you select a chair and vice chair through election that then goes to the council for ratification as a consent, typically on their consent agenda. And so we're in that cycle. Typically, we like to bring that to by your bylaws, I think it's recommended to go to the council in February and then be in place in February. So that's why we're doing it today. I will also note that Vice Chair Anderson is not present, but he said that he's willing to accept a nomination should he be nominated. And if not, he's fine with that as well. So I just want to make sure that that was on the record.
Okay, then we can accept nominations, and I'd like to nominate Kent,
For Chair?
chairman.
I'll
Planning
second
Commission.
that.
Yeah, so I would just recommend that the discussion about chair only happen right now and then move to vice chair after this discussion is over.
Okay. Well, so we go with a nomination and a
So I would say, yeah, you have one nomination, then I would say chair to ask for any other nominations if they exist.
okay, are there any nominations other than Kent that anybody would like to make for chairman for the next 2 years?
I think Kent is fantastic. You are fantastic. But Kent is very detailed and organized and not saying you're
knowledgeable.
not, but he takes notes and he's just, no, you are. But he's just so engaged and so involved and so willing to rally to whatever we need. And I think he's a great guy for the job.
I agree.
Okay, do we have any other nominations? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Kent is unanimous.
We have
for-
Michelle.
Do
Get
we need
that
to
on
poll for
record.
that one?
Okay,
Not unless you felt like it was required.
I don't think so when it's unanimous.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, any nominations for vice chair? They are open.
I think you want to do it again.
Me?
Yeah, Amy. I recommend Amy.
Is that a motion, Wanda?
Is that
That is a motion, yes.
So Wanda, or a motion from Commissioner Nye for Amy, or Commissioner Spires, sorry.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? What?
Ask if there's any other nominations.
Any other nominations? We can have other people.
Yeah.
We can flip coins in here too.
I think we all
Cards.
love
but
each
coins.
other in here.
I'm not doing that.
We don't fight.
This is a wonderful planning commission.
We do have-
Best planning commission that has ever
How long
been.
have you done this?
How long have I been on the planning commission?
Yeah.
10 years.
I thought it was longer.
No, it was 8, and then I came back,
Yeah.
and I'm here for 2 more years.
Don't you
That
think this is
depends.
one of the
This
best?
is the very best I have ever served on. I think there are so many prime people here on this planning commission. I think every one of you is an absolute star. And I'm very, very impressed with our planning commission. I don't think there's any way this can not work right. So do we have any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, did we all do in favor?
Yes.
Yeah, we
That
have
would be
not
your,
voted.
yeah.
All in favor?
Mike said no. I'm like, okay, I won't do it.
Yes.
Whatever you say, Mike.
Okay, and that is unanimous as well. Thank you very
Well, I'm
very-
humbled, you guys. I know I've done it before in the past, and then it landed in a tragedy of my life, and I think I mucked that up a little bit trying to navigate through the.
Hey, you made it
the
through
trap.
with me for 2 years. I think that's
Well, I think I
amazing.
mucked it up pretty bad, but I'm honored. And if somebody else would rather, I'm not wanting to be
Great.
overstepping.
I think it'd be
No,
fine.
I think that will work out great.
I'm in a perfect time in life to.
So now I can
Plenty to do.
add a little editorial from Mayor Mitchell, because he's communicated as much to me, but he seems to echo what I guess she's still your chair until it's ratified. So Chair Eskelson has said. He said that this is in fact the best commission, and I think he said as much when the two of you were being reviewed for ratification by the council. He even said as much on the record that he doesn't want to mess with the planning commission composition because it's far too good the way it's working, and he likes the mixture of it and he wants it to keep going the way it is. So I think that's a testament and also a tribute to your dedication and service, and echoes what has been said by the chair today. So if you didn't hear that, it was in I think the first meeting of January. So go listen to it, because you can hear his nice comments about the planning commission. But if you don't want to listen to it, I gave you the 30-second version of it. So there you go.
And Mike, I think we all feel so appreciative of you and of Michelle for the work that you do to prepare us to do our job the best that we can. I think that is absolutely, I think this is a really fantastic group altogether.
Can I make
And our
a
staff.
suggestion when you go back to talk to the mayor? There was two young gentlemen that applied for the city. Either of those would really be good, I think. I think I would hope that someone would go towards them and say, you might want to try the planning commission before you do city council. That is a stepping stone.
She's talking for the rest of the planning commissioners. She's talking about there were other two applicants that had applied for council that actually, was it two or three? Two others that were kind of new on the scene. And one of them was a finalist. One of them did get an initial council. The other did not, but he's pretty young. But I think what Commissioner Nye is trying, or I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Wanda, I'm not, but
Okay,
I think
nice.
what's being communicated is that they would be good selections or potential candidates for the planning commission in the future if the mayor has an interest, or one of your seats become vacant at a future date.
I was wish they had asked them that. If they hadn't got in on the city council, would you consider this? Where it is a stepping stone to know what's going on in the city.
That's neat, because often there has not been anybody that has put themselves forward for the planning commission. And the mayor has had a problem trying to find people so we could keep. I think that's wonderful.
So I have a question. So will Kent take over on February 13th then? But you're not leaving the planning commission. You just won't
No.
be the chair.
So she'll go back to her position.
Now, I'll just,
Here.
On
then
appointment.
I'll have to actually say something once in a while.
So then you'll be here.
So what will
I'll be here
happen
and Kent will be
is
there.
the three of you from Wanda up, you guys will all shift, and Kathy will go where Wanda is sitting.
Because she loses her prior seniority.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I quit. Yeah.
She came back in after.
Oh, got it.
It's not when
I
she.
had those 2 surgeries,
Yeah.
and then I came back. That's right.
It's put her back when she came in this time around.
But obviously, until the consent has been approved by the council, the leadership as currently exists is still the leadership until that time.
Well, I'm sorry. I will probably be about 30,000 feet when.
On the 13th, it's all right.
Actually, I'll probably have landed by then. But the 1,000 miles will make the difference. All right. Do we have any more comments? Anything more from the planning commission?
I have a question.
Okay.
I hope I can. You know, in the city, when you have snow, there's a letter that says you have to take the snow off to all your sidewalks. Does that not apply to the businesses?
It does apply to the businesses, and our new code enforcement officer, Steve May, is citing them accordingly, or at least giving them warnings to clean
Nice.
it up. So that is
I
currently
like
happening.
that guy.
I had the same concern because I would say the majority of businesses that have property on Riverdale Road are not clearing the sidewalks. And I've been out and seen people in wheelchairs walking and trying to
I did
commute.
navigate it.
So
I think-
so
I
the
think
city
some
the
of them
city
just think of the sidewalks right around their building, and they don't think about the
this
sidewalk out by the street.
the city can the city still has to ironically afford them due process, and due process typically is 14 days, and within 14 days with how the snow melts.
Yeah.
I'm not communicating an excuse, but sometimes the easiest thing Steve May can do is notify them that they have an issue and then try to follow up with them to get it done. And in some cases it works, in other cases it doesn't. But obviously, if you have a long duration of snow buildup and ice, then it becomes much easier to cite them, especially if they get past that due process period. So
Is there a way to change the amount of time for due process for
it's-
something like that is
it's federal
time
government.
sensitive?
Federal government established due process
Really?
is 14
The
days.
concern I had was that, okay, you're walking in the street because you can't walk on the sidewalk, and someone got hit. Is a person on the sidewalk, because they didn't clean it off, responsible somewhat?
Yeah, they incur liability potentially because it's their
Because I can't
responsibility.
walk on that sidewalk, so I have to walk in the street so somebody can
Yeah.
hit me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, Commissioner Nolan, I'm not
step out and
100%
be an
on,
example.
it may not be 14 days, it may be 10 days, but I know they're afforded a certain duration of time before there's actually prosecutorial weight that can be applied. I don't know the right
It just
word
seems like
for
with
it,
something
but
like
yeah.
that's transient, that
Yeah.
snow comes
Yeah.
and then it melts. But what about the time in
It's-
between when our citizens are trying to commute on the sidewalks, go to bus stops? We have a lot of
Wheelchairs.
foot traffic on those roads.
And a lot of handicapped people.
Exactly. And we see that all the time. And if those aren't being cleared, and I understand that our last storm was a lot, and all of the plows running Riverdale Road push the snow. I mean, there's nowhere else to push it. So I understand that, but I feel like as a business, they need to be responsible.
You're scratching out a typical code enforcement dilemma that cities face. And any kind of code enforcement, whether it's snow enforcement or landscaping or even safe access for handicap, these are the challenges that you face. There's timing duration challenges and certain rights that property owners are afforded, and it makes it sometimes hard to do code enforcement. The best options Mr. May has in having supervised code enforcement prior to going to the police, I can tell you this from that experience, but the best option Mr. May has, he can either give him a warning, a stern warning, and follow up with them, or he can cite them and then let them wait to go to court and go through due process, and they can sit on their hands and do nothing. Then the snow melts, and then they can say, "There's no more snow there. I'm good." So it comes challenging with snow removal. The only way you can really get them with snow removal is if it builds up to a depth with ice and snow, where there's good, clear evidence that they're not taking care of it. Then, right, with citation, it's easier to prosecute.
It's really frustrating. Is that something that we could bring up when future businesses come in and make sure that they are aware that this is important to us as a city and that we are going to be looking?
You can bring it up, but here's the other
Or-
dilemma with that conversation is the turnover in the leadership and management, even for a store as big as Walmart, happens frequently enough that the institutional knowledge disappears. And then you're just right back where you started. Unfortunately. I mean, that's why code enforcement is so hard for a city to do, the very things we're talking about with this discussion.
How lucky we are in Utah where we don't have those severe winters like I grew up with.
I also want to say, and I know this isn't necessarily like a government thing, but Celeste, are you the main admin for the Riverdale Facebook?
Not the main one. No, just one.
You do a fantastic job at watching what people say and trying to respond appropriately, and political isn't the word I'm looking for, but being very diplomatic and trying to explain, hey, businesses, code enforcement, we're trying to do this. I am bringing your comments are being heard by people, and I think you are doing fantastic at that.
Thank you.
I
I
wa-
try. I think it's important for people to know that they're heard,
Right, and
and also for us to make sure that they know that, I mean, there's multiple sides.
yeah, you just, it's not a one size fits all, and we can fix it right this second. But I think you do a fantastic job.
Thank you. There's a good group of admins for that page.
And this conversation with staff was brought up. I don't know. Did we have staff? We didn't have staff meeting last week, Michelle. It was the week before, huh? Two department head meetings ago, it was brought up. The snow removal dilemma and issue was brought up, and the police department was asked to ask Mr. May to go around the city and audit properties who were and weren't doing what they were supposed to with snow removal at that meeting. So that has been rediscussed and hammered that should be taken seriously. So know that as well.
That's
The
good to
public,
know.
the public may not see it, but I guess what I'm trying to communicate, staff is aware of it and has discussed it, and it is being
Okay.
taken seriously.
That's good to know. And it's good to know so that when people reach out, we at least have something to tell them. Okay. Thank you.
Any more comments? A motion might be in order.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Definitely.
That's always unanimous.
I'm glad you supported my idea.
Yeah,
I've
we
been
do
really
want to wait a
concerned
minute.
about it.
Well, when I seen
Hey,
it
guys, wait